So you want to get Eros because you want something that smells good, mass appealing, and just trying to get everyone's attention. Then come to find out, there's actually 5 Eros out there. So let's go ahead and talk about all of these, see which one is the best fit for you. Before we get into that shameless plug, my 2 fragrances, Costa Azul and Costa Carta, are now available for pre-order. They're spectacular. I put a lot of work into these, and I know you guys are going to love them. First, we've got the original Versace Eros. This is the EDT concentration, and this is what everyone knows and loves. It's that vanilla, it's got that minty greenness, it's got a little bit of aromatic in there, a little bit of fruitiness, a little bit of green in there, but it mainly is that very minty vanilla fragrance that everyone at this point has probably smelled, especially if you've been to, like, if you've ever gone out or if you've gone to a college party or anything along those lines. Very mass appealing, pretty loud, very nice projection and longevity. I mean, not a lot more that I can add to it. I mean, most people have smelled it, so I mean, overall, it's pretty good. After that, we have Eros Parfum. This one is basically the EDT, just a lot less synthetic. It still has that mintiness, the vanilla in here. It's got that all the aromatics, everything else that you liked about Eros, except the EDT version, except that it's just a lot more natural smelling, which is really a good thing. It almost makes you seem a little bit more mature, because Eros EDT, the way that comes off synthetically is if you just entered like fragrances in general, which Eros EDT ends up being a lot of people's first fragrance. But the EDP kind of just fixes the synthetic aspect of it, just makes it a little bit more natural smelling, which to me is really kind of a really big upgrade. After that, we have Eros Parfum. This is almost like the EDP grew up and just became like kind of heavier. The vanilla in it is a lot heavier. That's really the main thing, the main difference between the EDP and the Parfum. The projection and longevity actually I found to not be as good. That's still kind of a beast fragrance, just not as beast mode as the EDP or the EDT, which, you know, can be expected out of a lot of Parfums. The main thing about Parfum flankers is that it end up being heavier versions, which this one is. The mintiness is not, to me, it doesn't come off nearly as much as the other two. That still does maintain that non-synthetic nature that the EDP had. Just kind of the vanilla and all the aromatics just got a little stronger, kind of just giving a more grown-up version. Still has that central EDT DNA, the Eros DNA, just a lot more grown up. After that, we have Eros Flame. Not gonna lie, this is my favorite flanker out of all the Eros out there. Specifically, it adds orange and rose, maybe some other stuff, but mainly it's that rose and orange that I really love about it. The rose is not, you can't really smell it that well. Maybe you kind of get a little whiff of it, but the main difference is that orange. The orange adds a citrus aspect, making it a lot more like mass appealing, also making it a lot more versatile for like summer months too, because the other Eros, maybe not so good for some because it's so sweet, but this one, because of that orange, makes it a lot more accessible for summertime. This is my highest compliment getting fragrance in my entire collection, but fair warning, the rose in here, even though it's very faint, it can be a little off-putting off of some people's skin. Some people think that it gets a little jammy, so I would probably try it before you buy, but doesn't change the fact that this is still the highest compliment getting fragrance in my collection, and this is just so good. And last, we have Eros Energy. This is probably the most controversial one, mainly because it has nothing from the original Eros DNA. It doesn't have that minty opening, it doesn't have that vanilla sweetness, it doesn't have any of that stuff. It really is more of a citrus, fruity kind of fragrance. Like overall, it's got some musk in there too, which is like lends to a different type of fragrance in general. It's just completely different. It is very citrus and fruit forward. The lemon in here is very strong, the orange in here, the black currant is very nice. There's a lot going on in here that's very citric forward, and then as it dries down, the fruitiness comes out a little bit more, and so does the musk and the oak moss. But overall, it's gonna do perfectly in the summertime. A lot of people have tried to test it out in the streets, and so far, you get mixed reviews. I think mainly because it's an Eros flanker and it smells nothing like the original Eros. Honestly, if it was branded under a completely different line, it would have been perfect, honestly. But it smells pretty good. During the summertime is when it's gonna like shine the best, and it's probably the best Eros for the summertime.